What's up guys, WonderBro here. Today I want to do a video called Retrain Your Brain. What does that mean? Basically it is the key, okay? It is the most important thing behind your recovery for anxiety, depression, all sorts of mental illness. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to start by asking you a question. When you are anxious, put in a situation where you are anxious, when you are depressed, when you have a thought that makes you anxious or depressed, what do you do in that very critical moment? And I'll tell you why it's critical in a minute. What do you do in that very critical moment where that anxiety and depression starts to kick in? What do you do? What is your reaction? How do you handle it? How do you speak to yourself during that initial moment of anxiety or depression or both? If you don't have an answer to that, or your answer is something along the lines of, I become scared, I start talking negatively to myself, I, of course, obviously become anxious, I withdraw from the situation, I withdraw from the fear. If any of those things were your answer, then this is why your recovery is not going as smoothly as you would like it to. And let me explain that. Retrain your brain. Okay, basically, I won't go into all the scientific detail. I'll make it as simple as possible. That has always been the goal behind this channel. However, your brain stores memories, okay, associated with your anxiety and depression, whatever, vice versa, it doesn't matter. For example, if a lizard goes out here in the middle of the day trying to catch prey, and then he is attacked, okay, by something out here in the world during the day. He is attacked, and it puts him in danger. It puts his life in danger. It puts his well-being in danger. That memory of that place, during the day, the memory of everything that was going on in that very moment where his life was put in danger, will be stored in his brain. Whether he is thinking about it or not, the next time he is in that place, in that moment, put in that same situation, the lizard's brain will tell him, you are in danger, you do not need to be here, remember what happened last time? So, what does he start doing? He starts to not come out during the day. He starts to not go to that same place where his life was put in danger. Now this is an amazing feature of the brain. He will probably start to begin to hunt at night where he is safer and he is not in any life-threatening danger. But we're not talking about a lizard hunting here. We're talking about you as a human being. What life-threatening fear is there associated with being out, agoraphobia for example? What associated fear with your life being in danger is there with being out, away from your safe zone, away from your comfort zone, surrounded by other people? There is obviously no life-threatening danger there. Okay, and that can apply to every situation with anxiety. You're scared around large groups of people. There's obviously no life-threatening danger there. You're scared to do this or to do that. It doesn't matter. Anytime you are unnecessarily anxious, which most of us are, even throughout our normal everyday lives, there is obviously no real life-threatening danger there. You have become afraid of the state you're in, you have become afraid of the anxiety and the way it makes you feel, and because of the reactions that you have been setting off throughout your life, or throughout these months, or throughout these years, you have programmed your brain to store these memories, okay, and it keeps storing these memories. And that's why every time you're in this situation that most people are not anxious in, normal everyday situations, you become anxious because you have programmed your brain to do that. So how do we reverse the progress? Okay, how do we take this progress and we make it healthy? How do we alleviate our anxiety and our depression? And basically, how do we reprogram our brains to not do this? Well, I'm going to give you some examples because examples seem to make it a lot easier to understand. Agoraphobia, that's a perfect example, okay? And I mentioned this just a second ago, but if you notice how people get over agoraphobia, and if you don't know what that is, it's the fear of leaving your comfort zone, your safety zone, your home. It can make people housebound, it can make people not want to go out into public, into grocery stores, etc., etc. How do people get over that? They go to the grocery store, They go to these places they feel uncomfortable. They go to these places where they feel anxiety, and they sit there, and they let it happen. Okay, but some people do it the wrong way. They go there until they feel anxious, and then they turn around. No, you need to reprogram your brain, okay, from this anxiety. So anytime you feel a fear reaction, anxiety, depression, and I'm not just talking about agoraphobia here, I'm talking about in your everyday living. Say that you had a panic attack in the kitchen. Therefore, every time you go in the kitchen, you feel anxious and you tend to rush through your cooking. You tend to rush back to your room. You tend to rush. You are letting that fear response get the best of you, and you are further telling your brain that there is real danger here. You need to store these memories, and you need to continue to protect me. Obviously, in reality, 99.99% of the time, unless you have a dragon living in your fucking fridge, you are not in any real danger. Nothing is going to harm you, kill you, hurt you in your kitchen. Okay, like I said, these are just examples. This can apply to any situation where you are anxious that you know you shouldn't be. So how do we begin to reprogram and retrain our brain? You do that by facing everything and accepting and letting time pass. Okay, if you've been trying to defeat your anxiety by going into an anxious situation, anxious thought, anxious worry, by going into it bravely, sitting with it for as long as you can, and then turning around and running when it gets too much, you're not doing it the right way. I appreciate your effort, but you're just not. The right way is to go into the situation. Anxiety always passes. Panic always peaks. It is a human reaction. It is an electric reaction. It cannot build on itself. It cannot get to the point where it's just too much. Okay, it's fear repeating itself. So what I want you to do is I want you to keep that in mind, and I want you to start reprogramming your brain. And I want you to do that by going into situations, letting thoughts come, doing things that make you anxious, and instead of fleeing when it gets too much, I want you to stay there until you realize that there is no such thing as too much. And I want you to begin reprogramming. Okay, are you following me? Reprogram by staying in the anxious situation and not fleeing until the anxiety and panic dies down on its own. And trust me, it will. It cannot go on forever. If you were trapped under an avalanche for 7 days, you would still not panic forever. It is humanly and physically impossible. So let me ask you, what do you have to lose? So next time you feel anxious, I don't want you to run to your avoidance behaviors, such as calling someone, chugging water, fleeing the situation, doing all these things. I want you to stick with it. Okay, I got distracted for a second. I thought I seen a dog, but I didn't. I'm just blind without my glasses on. But I want you to stay in the situation until the anxiety and panic dies down on its own, which it will, because it is impossible not to. That is why when you have a panic attack and you think you're going to die, I am going crazy, this is the one that will do me in. It never does, okay, because it's fucking impossible. So that's how you reprogram your mind. You've been going about it all the wrong way. You've been trying to be brave and go into these situations for as long as you can before you flee, before you try to seek some comfort. Okay? That's what you've been doing for so long, and that's why your brain is continuing to program. It's continuing to drill in your head that there is danger in these situations when there is not. So to reprogram your brain, you have to stay in the anxious situation, anxious thought. You have to stay there until it calms down on its own. While doing this, you need to try to work on the way that you speak to yourself and talk to yourself. That is also an important part of reprogramming your brain. So when you get a thought or a negative emotion or negative feeling, I need you to start wrestling with it. Okay, that sounds weird. I need you to start changing your thought process, even if you don't believe yourself at first. And trust me, you won't. You've spent so many years, how many years, programming your brain to go about things all the wrong way. Of course it is going to take some time to reprogram it. Okay, you've spent years programming it the wrong way. It's going to take some time to program it the right way. So I'm going to go over this one more time. I'm going to make it simple, straight and to the point. Okay, this is what you need to do to reprogram your brain and ultimately defeat your anxiety. Okay, first you need to subscribe to my channel. I'm just fucking with you. First thing that you need to do to reprogram your brain to defeat this anxiety is to face everything and accept and let time pass. That is going to teach your brain that you are no longer going to flee from these situations because there is no real danger. So you got to roll up your sleeves and you got to be willing to put in the work here. Okay, that's the first thing. There's only two things. The second thing you need to do, and these are the most important things, if you do just these two things, you will advance leaps and bounds from where you are now. The second thing you need to do is start reprogramming your brain by watching how you talk to yourself, noticing it, and changing it. Make it short and sweet, short and simple. For example, you get a negative thought, I can't do this, this is overwhelming, I don't have any confidence. I want you to change that, even if you don't believe it at first. I want you to say it out loud, I am strong, confident, and I can do this. Okay, and that's just an example. You can switch it up however you like, and I want you to continue doing this. Continue doing this. Eventually, you will reprogram your brain to where it will believe it, and that will become the truth. Okay? So those two things, face everything and accept, teach your brain there's no real danger. Number two, watch how you talk to yourself, change your negative thoughts to positive thoughts. It's that simple. You will retrain your brain. Your brain is a filing cabinet. It stores these memories and you are storing the wrong ones. Alright? It's a long video, but I felt like I needed to make this video. I have other videos on anxiety, of course, how to defeat your anxiety and stuff like that. It basically tells you the same thing in those other videos, but it doesn't go into as much detail. It kind of makes it, it doesn't explain it as to why it works as much. So that's why I wanted to make this video. However, if you're watching any of my videos on mental illness, you are in the right direction. I can tell you that because I am living it. Okay? I know my shit, man. Don't doubt me. Don't doubt me. Just listen to me. Just trust me. You have nothing to lose. Dedication is key here. Listen to this video over and over again. It's very simple, those two things, okay? Watch my other videos if you want to listen to me go on about other stuff about anxiety and depression that may help you too. Any little bit of correct knowledge that you can store up here is good for you, because then you won't have to watch videos to be able to reflect back on all this stuff. It'll become automatic after a while. So check out my other videos. Thank you for watching this one. As always, stay awesome. Like, subscribe, share.